Hi, good evening, good day, and good morning, good afternoon to everyone around the world. Um, Welcome back to the global online courses of positive psychology. And today we're going to talk about meaning in life. However, before we talk about meaning in life, we will finish the unfinished part last week on nonviolent communication. And then we'll talk about why meaning in life matters, what are meaning in life, what consists of meaning of life, and then how to find meaning in life. Okay, so first, let's go back to the nonviolent communication that we didn't get time to finish last week. This is a technique proposed by psychologist Dr. Marshall Rosenberg, and he actually wrote a book on this called nonviolent communication. And today I'm going to briefly introduce what this technique is about. Basically, he's saying that actually there's a lot of communications between people that are violent, but we didn't even realize that they are violent. So he gave some signs of what is violent communication. For example, if a wife comes home and sees the husband playing video game. However, she hoped he could have cleaned up the room. Then she became very upset. She would just instinctively say, okay, why are you always playing video games? And what the husband was going to say? Is he going to apologize? No, he would just say, well, do I need your approval to play games? Right? So both of them are doing violent communications. And why is that? Because first, they are, expressing their emotions, their opinions, instead of facts. So the number one rule of nonviolent communication is to always state facts rather than opinions. Because when you do opinions, that's judgment, right? You are judging the other person. You are pointing fingers to this person, and you are often blaming this person. But facts, that's non-disputable. So everybody would agree on facts. For example, instead of saying you are so irresponsible, this is opinion, right? You are irresponsible. This is my judgment over you. But if it's just a fact, you didn't clean up the room as you promised, right? This is a fact. You promised to clean up the room, but you didn't do this. That's nothing that the other person can argue about. So instead of blaming, instead of judgment, you just simply state the fact. And here's another example. So looks like this person is stating a fact, right? You complained about me. So he's saying, okay, this is a fact, but actually it's not. This is also opinion, because what is a complaint? Because the other person may be just stating a fact. So complain, this word actually is an opinion. So instead of saying complain, you can say, you said you were disappointed by what I did, right? Because the other person might just have said, okay, I'm disappointed when you do this. This is not complain. This is just stating his or her feelings, right? So this is the difference between facts and opinions. I hope I've explained it clearly enough. And so now I'll give you some examples, and I hope you guys can distinguish opinions from facts. So please tell me which of the following are opinions. I give you 6 statements. A, Michael was late for work this morning. B, Michael is lazy. C, mom said I don't look good in red. D, my son often eats junk food. E, Harry works very hard. F, the manager didn't ask me for my opinions in the meeting today. Okay, please tell you answers. Please write down your answers. Which of the following are opinions in the chat area? Okay, Mukangho said it's B, D, E, and what other people think. Okay, Wang Yan said B, E. Any other opinions? B, E. B, E. Okay, Leila and Shadow. So most people say B. Okay, some people say BDE. All right, so it looks like some people say BCDE. Okay, so let's see what's the correct answers. Okay, more people say BDE now, or some people say BCE. Interesting. So C and D, that's most disputable. Okay, so there's no much difference of opinions in A and B and E and F, but C. Okay, mom said I don't look good in red. Is this opinion or fact? Actually, it's a fact because mom just said, hey, you don't look good in red. So you just repeated the sentence. Your mom was giving an opinion, but when you say mom said, I don't look good in red, that's a fact because she really said so. So this is a fact. And D, my son often eats junk food. So this is a opinion because what is often? For example, I hate junk food. So I may think, okay, if he eats junk food like once a month, if he goes to McDonald's once a month, that's he often eats junk food. But other people would think, okay, if he doesn't go to McDonald's every day, that's not often eats junk food. If he goes to McDonald's every other day, that's not often eats junk food, right? So here is the key thing. Often actually is an opinion because there is no consensus on what is often. So that's why it's opinion. You can say, my son eats junk food like once a week, or my son goes to McDonald's 3 times last week, then that's a fact. But if you say he often eats junk food, then that's an opinion. All right. I hope everyone got it now. And the second rule of nonviolent communication is after you state facts rather than opinions, you state your feelings rather than opinions. So look, you said I'm always playing video games. I feel unfair. Okay, so this person actually did the first part very well. He only stated facts. The wife said, okay, you're always playing video games. And then he said, I feel unfair. This is actually a opinion. Because if you say, I feel sad, then this is your feeling. Okay, this is actually difficult to tell the difference. Because you may think, I feel unfair. Yeah, unfair is my feeling, right? But no, actually, we can do a small trick. So always try to replace feel with think. If it's working, then it's opinion. If it's not working, then it's a feeling. For example, if you say, instead of saying, I feel it's unfair, you say, I think it's unfair. Makes sense, right? I think, yeah, what you said is unfair. Okay, that means it's an opinion. But if you say, I think it's sad, that doesn't make sense, right? How can I think it's sad, right? I cannot think it's sad. So it's feeling because you can only say, I feel it's sad. Okay, let me give you another example. You asked whether I can clean up the room. I feel you are not considerate. Yeah, this sounds right. I feel you are not considerate. This is my feeling. But actually, if you replace feel with think, I think you are not considerate. Makes sense, right? So actually, this is not a feeling. This is a opinion disguised as feeling. And then the correct one of saying it is you asked whether I can clean up the room. I feel a little bit upset. You cannot say, I think a little bit upset, right? So this is a feeling. This is a true feeling, right? As Rao Weining said, judgment. Yeah. If opinions are judgments, you are not considerate. This is a judgment. It's unfair. This is a judgment. But I feel it's upset. I feel upset. I feel sad. This is my feeling. And feeling is natural. There's nothing wrong about feeling. So always tell the other person feelings rather than opinions. So here comes another exercise. Okay, here are 6 statements. Please choose which of the following are opinions and write them down in the chat area. Okay. Wen Jie said ACF and Wan Zhikang said ACF. ACF. Okay. And yeah, more people are saying ACF. Good. Looks like everybody got it correct this time. Yeah, it's ACF. You can simply replace feel with think, and then you can see whether it's opinions or not. For example, the first one, I feel you don't love me. I think you don't love me. That makes sense. So it's a opinion. But the second one, you cannot say, I think happy that you can come, right? So it's a feeling. Okay, good. So everybody got it correct. ACF. That's the correct answer. They are opinions because you can think this way instead of feel this way. Okay, so the third step of nonviolent communication is to then state the thought and belief behind your feelings. This is called the ABC model in psychology. It's actually proposed by psychologist Dr. Ellis, and he found that there's the consequence of emotions and the behavior actually don't come from adversity, which is bad things, right? Or some people say activating event. Anything that can activate your emotion or behavior is an A. But A doesn't come to C directly. It's mediated by B, the belief, the thought about this adversity, about this thing. If you think this way, then you may have this kind of emotion. But if you think the other way, you may think you may get the other emotion or behavior. For example, if there's an opportunity in your office to get promoted, and your boss actually picked another colleague over you. So if your thought is like, oh, this is unfair, this person is just a kind of, he just tried to say good words about himself and bragged about himself. He actually is not as good as me. Then you will feel angry, right? So the emotion is anger, and the behavior is that you would refuse to work together with this colleague, and you would make some trouble for him or her. But if your thought is like, oh, looks like I'm not good enough, I need to work harder, then your emotion would be sadness, loss, right? But it's not anger, it's sadness. You feel loss, and then you will work harder so that next time you can get promoted. So same bad thing, but if you get different thoughts, you get different emotions. But the key thing is, other people don't know about your thoughts, right? Other people can only see your behavior and can kind of feel your feelings. So when you tell the other person your feelings, you have to tell this person your thought behind it so that he or she can better understand you. So next thing is you have to tell this person why you have this feeling. But remember, always start with I rather than you. This is called the I message. Because if a message starts with you, that's pointing your finger to that person. This sounds like blaming this person. But if you say I, then this is not blaming. For example, instead of saying, you are playing video games, I feel disappointed because you didn't clean up the room, right? This is blaming. You should say, you are playing video games, I feel disappointed because I hoped you were cleaning up the room. All right. So first, this person did the first two parts pretty good, right? She's not giving opinions. She was giving facts and feelings. But then if she said, because you didn't clean up the room, that's your fault. It's you that made me feel disappointed. But if she said, okay, because I hoped you will clean up the room. This is my hope, my kind of thoughts that caused this. Okay, so now I tell you I have this thought. Can we discuss how to resolve this? Right? So this is nonviolent, right? The other one is quite violent and depressing to the other person. And so how to reply to this kind of request or conversation? So the husband may say, you want me to clean up the room. I feel upset because you don't understand my situation. So first, the husband did very well in the first two parts, right? He didn't state his opinions. He said facts. You want me to clean up the room. This is a fact. I feel upset. This is a feeling. Pretty good. But the last one, because you don't understand my situation. This is like it's your fault. So he should say, because I'm exhausted and need a break. Okay, I have this need. I know you have this thought, but I have this need. And this need is not met. So I feel upset, right? So this is much more nonviolent. Okay, so now let's see. Let's do another exercise. Which of the following are I messages? Okay, be aware that this time we're picking the good responses versus the previous two exercises, we're picking the wrong, violent messages. But yeah, please tell me in the chat area, which are I messages? Oh, Tianyu said B, C. Okay, so a lot of people are saying B, C. Yeah, this is actually quite straightforward. Bataya said C. Okay, so looks like B is confusing. So first, yeah, correct answer is B and C. So why B is also an I message? There is no because, but it's the same thing. What you said made me nervous. I needed respect. Actually, here is a because that's omitted. So if you think about it, what he really was saying is, what you said made me nervous because I needed respect. You didn't give me respect or something like that. But I'm not blaming you didn't give me respect. I'm saying I need respect. Okay, so the other person may argue that you may not need respect, whatever. But anyway, so this is my problem. This is not your problem. I need respect. So this is something I need your help to resolve. So this is what an I message is. Okay, so I hope so everybody got it clear now. B is actually also an I message, because this person is not blaming the other person. Okay, and finally, the last step of nonviolent communication is to state your request, and it has to be clearly and explicitly. So in the previous three steps, you've told the other person your feeling, your thought, but now what do you need this person to do? You need to tell this person. So first, don't use negative imperative sentences, like don't do this, stop doing this, never do that, right? So instead of saying, stop playing video games, you should say, can you go clean up the room now? Because when you say, stop playing video games, this is like a command. And this is like, okay, don't do video games. Then the husband would be confused. Okay, then what do we do? What do I do? Can I play basketball? Can I, go sleep? So you need to give a positive request. Like, I hope you do this. So don't say, I don't allow you to do this. I hate you doing this. I prohibit you doing this. Use positive imperative sentences or requests. Can you go clean up the room now? This is, do it right now and do this thing. Very clear, very explicit. And the husband, instead of saying, don't tell me what I need to do. Okay, this is negative, right? So he can say, can we discuss this? Right? So that's initiating an action instead of, oh, don't tell me what I need to do. Then what the wife should do? Turn away, run away from the husband, right? So yeah, everybody should propose a positive thing to do. So, and the request should be clear and explicit. So instead of saying, can you do more housework? The husband would be like, okay, so what do I need to do? I do some cooking, or I throw away garbage? You just tell this person what I really need to do explicitly. Can you go clean up the room now? Right? This is very explicit. And the other example is, you need to give me more respect. Right? This is some people often say, out of instinct. Like, okay, when you are blaming me, I would say, give me some respect. But how? How to give you respect? So just say, can we discuss this? Yeah. So that's an action. That's a clear and explicit request. Okay. So as you can see, nonviolent communication is actually pretty simple. It can be summarized in these 4 steps. You state facts instead of opinions. You state feelings instead of opinions. You tell the other person your thought behind your feelings and make clear and explicit requests. That's it, and positive requests. So, but it sounds quite troublesome, right? It's very, I have to say, this is not as a kind of pleasant way of communicating, right? This is very wordy and sounds not so not so effective. But the key thing is, as Dr. Rosenberg said, if our objective is to change people and their behavior or to get our way, then non-violent communication is not an appropriate tool. You can just give this person command or just give this person a threat, like, if you don't do what I ask you to do, I'll get divorced, right? Then, yeah, don't use nonviolence, just threat or command this person. But if the purpose is to create a quality of connection, then you need to use nonviolent communication. So nonviolent communication, yeah, it's not so straightforward. It's quite difficult to practice because sometimes you need to control your emotion to do this. But if the purpose is to increase the relationship between you and the other person and make the connection deeper and of higher quality, then nonviolent communication is for you. So please use nonviolent communication for the person that you care about. Because as Chris Peterson said, when people ask him to summarize positive psychology in 3 words, he said, other people matter, right? And as Kai Ping said, Kai Ping mentioned this in the first class, that I like this so much that I wear it on myself. So this is the hoodie, OPM, as you can see. Other people matter. So yeah, I really believe other people matter. So we really should give other people non-violent communication, because other people deserve this positive way of communication. Okay, so this is the unfinished part of nonviolent communication. I actually went it through pretty quickly, but I hope you get the main idea of it. It's 4 simple steps, and with practice, everybody can become a master of positive communication. Okay, so now let's follow what Chris Peterson said in another occasion, the key question: what makes life worth living? And I like this one so much that I also wear it on my shirt. So yeah, so it's time for me to take off the hoodie. We change from positive communication now to meaning life. And this is also my favorite t-shirt. So this is, okay, I'm sorry, this is actually Chinese. I don't have a English version of it. English version, I think it's for Michigan students. So this is the Chinese version of what makes life worth living. And so basically, the story is that in fall 2010, Michigan University asked Chris Peterson to design the theme of this semester. So this is a tradition of Michigan University. They always have a theme for each semester. Sometimes it's, for example, China actually became one of their themes, and sometimes it's justice or equality or, the Indian, the primitive people, etc. But this semester, they asked Chris Peterson, a positive psychologist, to design their theme. And Peterson, actually being a positive psychologist, we thought he would propose something like happiness or well-being. But no, he actually asked this question: what makes your life worth living? And he asked the students to fill in their answers. And all kinds of answers came up. For example, some students said family, some said love, or music, or God, or justice. Those things makes life worth living. And some people, they were like, I don't know, I guess joking, or maybe they're serious. My cat, right? I guess his cat or her cat really makes his or her life worth living. And some people would say Britney Spears, of course, yeah, she makes your life worth living. That's no problem. So anyway, these are the some examples of answers from the Michigan students. And so now could you think about this question proposed by Chris Peterson and write down your answer in the chat area. What makes your life worth living? Family. Okay, Tina said family. This is similar to books. Good. Nice. Reading. Do valuable things. Yeah. I believe feelings make life worth living. Good. Emotions. Making people happy. Other people matter, right? Love and being loved. So it's love. Okay, good. I can see that the answer is actually word peace, belief, thinking. Yeah, the answers are being helpful. The new day, thinking. Okay, yeah. So it's quite similar to have a relationship with our creator and then with his creators. Oh, okay. Find more possibilities. Family and life itself. Life is precious. Raise my daughter. Great. Giving love and receive love. Unpredictable but warm future. Yeah, so to explore the unpredictables. Okay, good. As we can see, actually, it's quite similar to some answers in the from the Michigan students. Okay, so how then? Let's dig into the this question of meaning of life. But actually, in psychology, typically we don't call it meaning of life. We call it meaning in life, and this is important topic. Actually, so the first response from many Michigan students at that time was like, hey, why bother we think about this question, what makes life worth living? Because from psychologist studies, especially, so for example, a article written by Michael Steger, he's the leading psychologist in the research of meaning in life. He found that those people who found meaning in life are more satisfied with life, of course, and then they can control their lives better, which means they have a better lifestyle. They exercise more. They are less likely to smoke, and they eat less junk food, etc. And they are more engaged in work. They actually make more money. So people who have meaning in life actually are more successful, and they enjoy their work more. And of course, they're happier. So they have less negative emotions, less likely to be depressed or anxious or suicide. And they have less drug or alcohol abuse. Basically, it's saying they have better mental health. So this is the benefit of meaning in life. And of course, they have higher levels of well-being. But why? We would ask, hey, why meaning in life can make people live better, and have more well-being and behave better? Actually, the answer lies in evolutionary psychology, because if we think about humans, one of the biggest differences between humans and the other animals is that humans tend to look for patterns, and because this gives us evolutionary advantage, because patterns can help us predict the future. We would know that what the future would roll out. If you can see that the sun rises from the east every day, then you can predict, okay, the sun will rise again tomorrow from the east. So I don't need to worry that there's no sun tomorrow. And patterns can motivate us to act. Because if we know that, okay, if we, for example, plant some seeds in the soil in spring, and then we can harvest in the fall, then we are motivated to do that, right? If we know that this is not going to happen, there's no pattern, okay, the plants are just random patterns, then we are not going to do agriculture. And finally, patterns can decrease our cognitive burdens. So we don't need to remember all those scattered things, right? So that there's no connection between them. Then it's difficult for us to remember all these things. But if there's a pattern, okay, I only need to remember several elements, then I can remember everything. I can predict things. So this is a huge relief to our precious resources of brain power. So humans always look for patterns. Now, for example, this is the Rorschach test. It's called ink blots. So, which means it's invented by Dr. Rorschach. He's trying to kind of using this to test what people are thinking or tend to behave. And he made this random ink blots. So totally kind of no pattern at all. But people would find patterns from this pictures. They were like, okay, this is actually a drawing. Two people are dancing, right? They're dancing, facing to each other. Okay, or some people say, oh, this is fire. So you see, even though this is totally random ink blots, people would say, oh, I see random, I see pattern, so that they can remember it. And sometimes actually we impose our known patterns to unknown things or to something that actually don't have patterns. For example, if you look at this cat, what do you think? Oh, you think the cat is shocked, right? The cat is surprised and maybe shocked by what he or she is seeing. But actually, if you have a cat, you know, he or she is just yawning, right? So, but her or his yawning was kind of interrupted. So she or he was not shocked, but because this face really looks like a shocked face of a human. So we would say, oh, this is a shocked cat. So that's how we would create patterns from things that don't even have patterns. And actually, here is even more interesting story. That this is real story, a true story, and more complicated than the cats. So this is our primitive people living in an island in Pacific, and they invented a kind of ritual or religion in 1950s. As you can see, they would burn a plant model made of grass, and in that ritual, the children would parade together. And as you can see, they actually write USA in front of their chests, and they would put some stick, looks like a gun, and they actually carry an American flag. So what's happening here? Why this ritual has something to do with the USA? That's because during the World War II, during the Pacific War, the U.S. Army and Navy, the U.S. military forces came to this island because they picked this island as a base to build airports, so that they can continue fighting the Japanese. So, but from the point of view of the primitive people, they would like, oh, there's some gods, descending from the sky, with some shining metal craft, and they brought all kinds of fancy things like chocolate or canned food or some guns, right? These are miracles to them, and they brought a lot of good things to this island because they brought economy there. They brought food and jeans, right? The fancy clothes, and they built houses and they built airplanes. But several years later, after the war is over, those God people left. They disappeared. They never came back. Oh, how can we get them back? Let's create these rituals. We burn the models of the things that came here, and we parade like they do. Because, those American soldiers used to parade and exercised in the island. And they think, okay, this way we can get the gods back. So as you can see, they're trying to look for patterns from something that's actually not predicted as they think. But this is how people kind of sometimes invented those kind of rituals and culture. So as we can see, meaning of life or meaning in life is how we are trying to look for patterns over our life. Because if we think about our life, it's a bunch of numerous things that if they are not connected to each other, it's impossible for you to remember everything in your brain, right? And you cannot make sense of your life. You're like, okay, I'm eating. Okay, I'm sleeping. Okay, I'm working. But why am I doing this? What's the relationship between, I have to work and I get to eat, right? So you have to create some theme to connect all these scattered thoughts of your life. Like what, Steve Jobs said, that one day when you look back at your life, you can find a line that, connect all the scattered thoughts of your life, and that is your meaning of life. But we don't say meaning of life. We say meaning in life. Why? Because if we really think about it, life may not have meaning at all. And actually, I'm convinced that meaning had no life. Life had no meaning after I read the Selfish Gene by Richard Dawkins. And in that book, if you have not read it, he said, he kind of convinced me that, we, the humans, are just the vehicles of genes. We are just tools to spread genes. So what really will live forever is the genes, not us. And genes don't really care about our well-being. For example, genes created something called anxiety, depression, right? And of course, aggression, murders, cheating, all those things, so that these genes can spread. So actually, life had no meaning. You were just created because your parents, driven by genes, they had, sexual intercourse, and your father's sperms and your mother's eggs, they merged together, and you were born. And then you grew up manipulated by the genes, and then you, driven by the same genes, you kind of, married other person, and you gave next generation so that the genes can spread, and then you die. Life has no meaning. Okay, so after I read this book, I really found a little bit depressed because as I said before, I'm a meaning animal. I'm always looking for meaning. And I was convinced by Richard Dawkins that there was no meaning in life. But after I learned positive psychology, I realized, okay, life may not have meaning, but we humans have sense of meaning. Why? Because the genes, in order for them to spread wider and further, they created those, they, of course, evoluted those sense of meaning so that we are always looking for patterns in things, including our lives. So that is the sense of meaning. When you find the patterns of your life, when you find the purpose of your life, when you find the significance of your life, then you have this sense of meaning. And this sense of meaning will increase your well-being. So that is actually a side effect of the selfish gene. As we said in the pro-social course, like 3 weeks ago, the selfish gene actually can produce unselfish morality in humans. For example, altruism, cooperation, etc. And same thing for sense of meaning. When you feel connected with something grander, it could be bigger or longer, living longer, more eternal or more virtuous than you. Then you feel, okay, I'm connected to this thing that's grand and I have meaning in my life. So actually, meaning comes from connections, because we know isolation. If something is isolated, it doesn't have a meaning. For example, a neuron. A neuron, no matter how powerful it is, how fast it processes information, if it's not connected to any other neurons, this neuron doesn't have meaning. Any information that is stored in this neuron, of course, there's no information stored in a single neuron. But let's say anything that's in this cell doesn't make sense to the other parts of the brain because it's not connected. And same thing for the meaning of anything. If it's not connected to other things, it doesn't have a meaning. The meaning is always made from the connection between it and other things. Let me give you an example. So what's the meaning of this? Okay, if you don't know Chinese, this is nothing. I don't know what it is, right? This is some weird writings. But of course, if you know Chinese, then you know that, okay, it's book. Oh, it's book. Now this thing has meaning. Next time when you travel in China and you see this, you're like, oh, this is book. I know this character. So now it has a meaning in it. But if you're illiterate, if you don't know how to read, how to write, then book still doesn't have much meaning to you. It's like, okay, if it's a thing with a bunch of paper and ink on it, that's a book. What can it be used? It's nothing, not much meaning to me. But actually, if you can read and write, and you write the characters, the letters on the book, and you read a lot of books, then book is not just a thing. It's something in your experience, something that you can feel. Okay, book is not just materials. It's part of my life. It's part of my emotion. And if you read more books, then you can get the spirit of books. This is so-called the four great masters of Tsinghua University. And they're proposing that we should have free spirits and independent personalities or characters. And if you think about books and you read so many books, you would be like, yeah, I think we should have free spirits and independent characters. And now book is not just your experience, your emotion. It becomes part of you. It becomes part of your soul. So now book has much more meaning for you now. So that when you see some people burn the books, you would be like disgusted. You would be like, oh, I don't even need to think or judge the situation. I feel disgusted from the bottom of your heart. Just like you see people killing other people, or you see people like bullying other people. You don't need to be a judge to be angry. You feel instinct that this thing is bad. Okay, so book. If you read so many books and you love them so that it becomes part of you, then book is very, very meaningful to you. Okay, let me give you another example. Why meaning is coming from connections. So work. Okay, we all have to work. Let's say we're adults. And what can we connect work with? Okay, first of all, money. Of course, if I get work, I get paid, right? But if you work to just get paid, then the meaning of work for you is really small, really slim, and really light, because that's just one connection. Okay, if there's no money, I will not work. But if you connect work also with your career development, okay, oh yeah, if I work harder, I will get promoted. Yeah, so this is good. And also with my self-growth, okay, if I work harder, I will get more powerful. I get more skills. So next year, maybe I become a more knowledgeable person. And of course, you get connected with social welfare. Yeah, my work is contributing to the betterment of the world, to the well-being of other people. For example, now I'm working, I'm disseminating positive psychology, and when I'm doing this, I'm get paid. I have to confess that, but not much money, to be honest. But I'm doing this because, this is. You can say I'm excited and enthusiastic about doing these things because this, I think, can help a lot of people. So I'm love to do it. And also, work can be relationships, right? Sometimes you go to work not because you love the work, but because I love my colleagues. I love hanging around with them and doing things together. We're a team, and I want to be responsible to them. And the feelings of supporting each other and accomplishing things together is really good. So I love doing things together with these people, not really the thing itself. And of course, it could be the thing itself, strengths, right? We talked about character strength. Because in this work, I feel I can use my strength. For example, I think teaching is one of my strengths. Lecturing, I really love it. So when I'm doing this global online courses, I really enjoy it. Interest. So even if I'm not paid, actually, to be honest, I would love to do it because I enjoy it and I can use my strength. And also, of course, experience. That's part of my life experience. I never delivered any global online courses before, so I would love to try how it goes out, how it rolls out. So so far, so good. I think it's pretty fun and quite meaningful. Why I say meaningful? Because there's so many connections between my work and other things. It's not just money. It's more than that. And the more connections you have between one thing and other things, there's more meaning. So this is a research done by Amy Ranelski from Yale University. She distinguished three different attitudes toward work. If you think it's just for money, then it's his job. If you think, okay, I can get career development, this is career. If you think, oh, I'm contributing to the social welfare, then this is a mission. As we can see, actually, in both work satisfaction and life satisfaction, those people who think work just as job, they're not happy. They're not happy in work or life. And if you think work is more than money, it's also your development, then you get more satisfied. But it's those people who think, okay, this is a mission. I'm contributing to the society are happiest and the most satisfied with both work and life. So similarly, for your life, for the meaning in life, it's the same thing. We need to connect the life with as many things as possible to find the meaning in your life. So this is actually a mistake I made before. As I talked before, actually I was in science and tech sector people. I actually graduated from the University of Science and Technology of China and majoring in something called chemical physics. And then I got a master degree in computer science in the United States and worked as a computer engineer for more than 10 years. So I was a kind of what we say, the science and tech kind of people. So I'm always trying to figure out the problem of meaning life by thinking. I just thought and thought and thought and read and read and read. I read a bunch of, philosophical, religious, sociology, all those books and tried to find out, oh, what's the meaning of life? And I failed because I'm trying to, get information inside and process them. Only after I learned psychology, especially positive psychology, I realized the old approach was wrong. I should go out. I should connect my life with other things around me, of other things in the world, with other people, with the things I'm doing, and with my emotions. And then that's the way I can find the meaning of my life. So this is actually how I found the meaning of my life, honestly. And of course, there's a lot of research that support my approach. So, as I actually mentioned in one of the previous classes, one of the reasons I went to learn positive psychology in University of Pennsylvania is that I tried to figure out. I hoped that science can tell me what the meaning of life is. Of course, that's impossible, but there's a lot of research that gave me cues and gave me clues. And actually, one of them is our old friend. I just mentioned him, Michael Steger, the leading psychologist in the research of meaning in life. And he and Martella proposed that meaning in life has 3 elements. First, coherence. That means the understanding of life is coherent. You really get a understanding so that of life, so that life is no longer a riddle to you. And you know what is the essence of life, what the life is about. And secondly, purpose, which is, okay, what I need to accomplish in this life. It doesn't have to be big, but you need to have a clear goal of your life. It may be glorifying the God. It may be raising your family. It may be, using your strength, self-actualization. But anyway, it has to be a goal. So how should a life be spent? What motivates you to do things? And the third one is significance, which is the value of life. When you are dying, when you are lying on your deathbed, when you look back your life, did I live a significant life? Did my life make a difference? Right? This is what significance means. Or is my life worth living? Right? So the value of your life, what makes my life worth living? Okay, so these are the 3 elements of meaning in life, according to Steger and Martella. And actually, this is quite similar to many other interesting approaches of meaning of life. For example, when I checked meaning of life in Wikipedia, actually what attracted me first was this picture. This is the picture of meaning of life in Wikipedia. And this is a famous painting from Gauguin, as we know, the French painter, when he was in that Pacific island. And the title of this painting is, Where Do We Come From? What are we? Where are we going? As we can see, this is actually 3 time dimensions, right? The past, the present, and the future. And this actually also, if we think about life, this is actually also the 3 elements of meaning in life. First, where do we come from? This is coherence, right? You need to get an understanding of life. Where are we from? What is this life about? And then what are we? This is the significance. So what defines me? What I am doing right now? Is it valuable? And finally, where are we going? That's the purpose of life. So here is the kind of 3 element model of meaning in life proposed by Steger and Martella. And as we can see, we need to have all 3 elements, significance, coherence, and purpose together to have meaning in life. If you only have significance and coherence, for example, okay, I understand life. Life is meaningless. Yeah, it's, you come from genes manipulation, and when you die, everything disappears. So what you need to do in your life is to enjoy, is to get more, pleasure as much as possible. So this kind of life, you got coherence, right? You understand it. Oh, it's about nothing. And you got significance. Okay, so what I need to do is just to enjoy my life, but there's no purpose. So because you are not pursuing anything that's meaningful. That's nihilism. And if you got significance and a purpose, but no coherence, that's confusion, right? So, for example, in some traditional cultures, you are asked by the family, okay, your life is about this. You need to do this. This is valuable. Okay, you go ahead to do it, but you don't understand, why do I need to do this? And why should I listen to you guys? And that's confusion, right? You are working you are doing things that the society approves, but that's not helping you. And finally, if you are doing things that you think you understand and there's clear purpose, you know what you need to do, but you don't think it's valuable, you don't love them, you don't have an emotion on it, that's alienation. And you don't really feel like, okay, this is my meaning. You feel this is a kind of slavery ideology imposed by other people onto you. So you can't really accept this meaning in life. So this is the key thing. You have to have all three to get meaning in life. And one key thing here is that we often think too much of the cognitive elements of these three things and ignored the affective elements of these three things. But actually, especially significance and purpose, we really need emotions to make it work, because significance is about values, right? What you value most. And values is about emotion. Actually, values is not about cognition, right? Values is not about theory or ideology. It's about how you feel, how you love. What do you love and what do you hate? That's values. And in tradition, values is often, psychologists study values using the Ricocchi's category of values. He categorized the values into two parts. Instrumental means they are, means. Okay, they are just some methods, tools, so that you can achieve the terminal values, which is on the right side. For example, comfortable life. Why do I need to get comfortable life? Well, because I want to get a comfortable life, right? But on the left side, instrumental means it means, why do I need to be ambitious? Because so that I can get a comfortable life, right? But if we really look at these values, there's a big problem. They're conflicting, right? For example, okay, I do want to get comfortable life, but if you look at the bottom of the instrumental values, I have to be self-controlled, responsible, and no, that's not a comfortable life at all, right? So you cannot have both. And I do want to have an exciting life in the terminal value. But again, if you look at the bottom of the instrumental life, you have to be obedient. And I don't want, if I'm obedient, this life is not exciting. It's boring, right? And it's actually hateful. So as we can see, the values are conflicting each other. So what we need to do is actually switch to a new system of values proposed by Shalom Schwartz. And he put the values in the wheel so that, as we can see, you just cannot have all of them. For example, if we look at the top right, universalism, it means tolerance, equality, and nature. And if you devote yourself to universalism and benevolence, that means you probably cannot get much achievement and especially power, which means wealth, control, dominance, right? Because you are devoting yourself to a bigger well-being, not just your well-being. And if we look at the left top side, self-direction, which means I'm doing things out of my own wills, right? That's freedom of thought and action, and stimulation, which means excitement, variety. I'd love to explore the world. Then you probably are not going to get much security and conformity and tradition in the bottom right side, right? So they are conflicting with each other. And that's the essence of values. Values are not just a collection of a bunch of good words. That's not values. Values are what you have to choose when there are two good things. You choose this one over this one. That means this is your value. This one is not your value. So this is the key thing of values. What do you really love here? Okay, but if we then Schwartz actually kind of, he labeled those values in many other ways. But one key thing here is the values on the top. He called them the growth values. And the values in the bottom, he called them the self-protection values. So that as we can see, it's just like a tree on the left side picture. A tree has to have deep roots, right? So that it can survive, it can get water from the soil. However, a tree is not born just to get water, just to get roots. It's meant to grow taller into the sky and flourishing, right? And get a bunch of leaves and seeds, spread the seeds, and with its flowers to the bigger field and to the world. So that's the purpose of a tree. A tree, if it's just for self-protection and no growth, then it should have a bunch of deep roots and then crawl on the ground, just like a bush. But no, we're not bush. Humans are not bush. We're trees. We're born to grow taller and flourish and spread our seeds. So, of course, not just biological seeds, our spiritual, our mental, our intellectual seeds. Okay, so I think this is the metaphor of the trees here, and this is why Schwartz categorized values into growth values and protection values. And this is exactly how Abraham Maslow categorized his, the famous hierarchy of needs. He put all those, lower needs like physiological, safety, belonging, etc., as deficiency needs, which means if these things are in deficiency, I need them. If I don't have food, I really need food. If I don't have much safety, I really need safety. But there are also higher levels of needs: transcendence, self-actualization, aesthetic needs. These are the growth needs, which means if I don't have them, I will not die. But if I have them, I would enjoy them and I would love them and I would have as much as possible of them. So this means for the deficiency needs, the less you have, the more needed, right? We actually can see some people, they always feel unsafe. Why? If you dig into their childhood, you can often find that they have an unfortunate childhood so that they didn't have much safety. So all his or her life, he or she is looking for safety because she didn't get enough of it. But for some other lucky people, they are privileged enough to have a safe and warm childhood, so that they no longer just look for safety and belonging and love and physiological needs. They look for transcendence and self-actualization because they've got enough of deficiency needs. And now, and in their childhood, they are often allowed to pursue their own interests so that they know that they can have self-actualization, and they're often encouraged to do things beyond themselves, like universalism and benevolence. So they're always looking for transcendence. So growth needs are the more you have, the more you need it. The more you go to transcendence and self-actualization, like creative arts, or the contributing to the bigger society, you would enjoy it more. But for those people who didn't have this chance, for example, some people, they were not allowed to explore the world. They didn't have a chance to be curious about the world. Then they will lose curiosity and creativity in a large degree when they grow up, because they didn't have that enough of it. So the less you have, the less you need it. That's for growth needs. Okay, and finally, there's also another theory in motivation. So we talked about needs, we talked about values and motivation. This is from the famous self-determination theory proposed by Ryan and Deci. And they found that there are three kinds of motivation. The first one is amotivational. That means I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just following the other people. And this is actually quite popular among Chinese, especially young people now. We call it lying down, 躺平, so that, okay, I'm just lying down. I don't want to do any new things. And the second kind of motivation is called controlled motivation, which means you looks like you're doing things out of your own will, but actually you are controlled by the outside world. For example, money. If I do this, then I get more money, or I get higher status, or I will, get more respect from other people. And those people would be like what we call involted people. Involution is a quite popular word in China, especially on internet now, which means, people compete with each other meaninglessly. Everybody spend more effort, but nobody go ahead because it's a kind of bad and negative and malfunctioning competition. Originally, it came from Indonesian farmers who invest a lot of efforts into their farm, but can get less in return. The marginal return is lower and lower. So we're using this involuted this to describe people who are kind of fighting. They are fighting with the whole strength and a lot of anxiety, but they are not fighting for their own will, for their true self, they are fighting for things outside of them. And so finally, autonomous motivation means people who are doing things because they really want to do. They think this is correct, and they enjoy it because this is their passion. So that's what they call autonomous motivation. And controlled motivation is typically driven by negative emotions. That means when I do something, that's not because I will enjoy it. That's because if I don't do it, I will be anxious and depressed. If I don't get rich, I will be scared to death. If my children don't go to a top university, then I feel disrespected by my classmates, right? I will be looked down by my friends. So they are doing things so that they can flee away from negative emotions. But autonomous motivation means I'm doing things because I'm attracted by positive emotions. I do it because it makes me feel meaningful, feel accomplished, and feel passionate. And if I fail, that's fine. I enjoyed the process anyway. And if I succeed, I'm happy. I'm fulfilled. However, for the involuted, people who are driven by controlled motivations, if they succeed, they just feel relieved. They don't feel much positive emotion. They're like, okay, I will not be laughed at. I will not be attacked. But if they fail, it's gonna be end of the world. There will be depression, anxiety, all kinds of, and even suicide, all kinds of negative emotions. So that is actually the different types of motivations. So basically, the growth values, they come from growth needs, and they're driven by autonomous motivation and attracted by positive emotions. And the protection values, they come from deficiency needs and driven by controlled motivation, and they are driven by the fear of negative emotions. So finally, if we want to look for meaning in life, we actually need to look for those growth values, because this can really give you the positive emotion that fuels your meaning. So today, when we talk about, for example, absence of meaning in China, we often say, oh, those people don't have values. But actually, why they don't have values? Because they don't have emotions. Values are driven by emotions, and it's not just any particular emotions. The positive values are driven by positive emotions. If we want our kids to have growth values, you need to have them to have more positive emotions. And like what Barbara Fredrickson said, we talked about her work in our second course class. It's joy, gratitude, serenity, interest, hope, pride, amusement, inspiration, awe, and love. So if you want to find meaning in life, don't just think, don't just read books. Think about what makes you feel joyful, what makes you feel grateful, and all these things, how they can bring you positive emotions. So, and you also need to hold growth mindset on meaning in life. I know we are kind of 10 minutes late already, but can you spend like 1 minute to answer these 4 questions? If you agree it strongly, give yourself 6. And if you disagree with it strongly, give it a 1. And then tell me the average of these 4 questions. Oh, you don't need to tell me, sorry. Just do it. And I'm always on my way exploring my meaning in life. So this is a growth mindset of meaning in life. And that's because meaning is also a verb. And I love to quote Chris Peterson again. Positive psychology is not a spectator sport. It's not like you are watching other people exercise. You have to exercise yourself. So as we said in the second course, happy is not a adjective or noun. It's a verb. You have to do something. That's happy. If you stop doing things, it's not happy. And also the self, this is not a noun. It's not like there's a self here. It's a verb. When you do things, there's a self. When you are not doing anything, you actually don't have a self. And values is a verb. If, as we just talked about, right? If you're doing things out of your own interest, own will, own passion, and own meaning of life, then this is a value. If you don't do anything, you don't have any values. And meaning is also a verb. How do we spend our life? Through doing things. If you don't do anything, you don't have meaning in your life. If you are doing things, you are exercising. You are meaning your life right now. And I know that you are doing things right now, right? You are attending this course and you have actually pretty much know positive psychology very well now. And so you are really meaning your life right now. Congratulations. And I give you best wishes of mine to you so that because this is my last course in this series. Next one will be taught by Kai Ping on flow, on the topic of flow. So here, please allow me to send you my most sincere wishes so that you live a meaningful, prosperous, meaningful, prosperous, and fulfilled life. Thank you. And any questions?